Hello, and welcome to Finding Your Holy Grail, a show produced through Passionate World Talk Radio, whose goal is to enlighten, entertain, and educate. I am your host, Dr. Mandy Simon. I'm so happy to welcome to the studio today Dr. Ava Brown. Ava and I got acquainted during the first pandemic, and I'm just so pleased to have her here today. Ava, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Simon. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad we
I
made a
am
point.
so happy. And we should let our viewers and our listeners at home know that before we opened this show to the recording, we were talking about why we're here. And it's really because we want to build resilience. We want to live fearless in these moments from the pandemic. And we understand the world is not going back to what it was. And we talked about the fact that resilience is not toughing it out. It's learning practices that help us know that within us is already the power to live a beautiful, a joyful, and a robust life. And that living fearless isn't the same thing as living without fear, right? It
Yeah,
simply
totally.
means that we recognize our fears, we head into the day with them, and we actually come out on top.
Yes, definitely. It's,
Yeah,
it's understanding that we have all we need inside us to
yeah.
navigate this period.
Yeah. Why don't you start out by telling them just briefly about your background?
Wow, I think I'm from a background of resiliency, or my experiences have taught me that. So I'm just a girl who have had a lot of things thrown at me, a lot of things thrown at me on my path: sexual abuse, domestic violence, rape, incest, you name it, gunshots, gun firing. But I'm just a girl who's standing here today as a testament to the fact that the human spirit has got so much resilience in it. And I use my story now to empower others. That's who I am.
Yeah. And I love your story in terms of how you came into where you are today. You've not only gone through these things that you've just said to our audience, but the fact of the matter is that you've earned a doctoral degree. You're living in a country which is not the country that you were born in. You have two children who are thriving, and you have a business that has gotten the attention of some amazing customers this past year and organizations. You are an author, you're an entrepreneur, you're a coach. Wonderful. Yeah, this is really resilience. This is very, very inspiring. And I'm so pleased for everyone at home listening because Dr. Brown has a really special treat for us today. And I'd love to hear from you at this time to just talk to the audience a little bit about what you have in store for them, why it's meaningful to you. Just walk us through it.
Wow. You know what? I wanted to go back to you listing all the accolades. I want to go on the flip side. I failed English in high school. I failed math in high school. I was homeless. And then I'm here today. So, God, this show is just so perfect. And for those of you who are listening and watching, I just want you to understand that you are awesomely special. And whatever is thrown at you, that you're actually already prepared. You don't need to go and find anything else to actually find your way through it. All that you need to do this, to go through this, to meander, to navigate, it's inside of you. And sometimes we're so busy frantically trying, oh my God, rather than sitting in stillness and doing the okay, I've been here before in a different way, and
Mhm.
really recognizing that everything you go through, you've been there before. It's just that it's a different experience, possibly, and it probably shows up differently. But if you were to be in stillness, respond rather than react, you realize that 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, you were right here. And
Yeah.
you need to look at, what did you do? How did you come out? And that's what I want you guys to understand today, that in this whole pandemic situation, we've been here in a different way
Yeah.
in our lives, and we came through the other side. And those same tools and skills, we have them,
Yeah.
and we need to start tapping into them and not leaning into the fear and all of the drama around us. Pull ourselves away from the crowd and sit in stillness and listen to your inner breath.
And I really appreciate this. And I appreciate this because, one of the things when we met during the pandemic, actually, we talked about so much of this coming from within ourselves. And we recognized what everyone recognizes at this point, which is that although we've never seen what we're dealing with at this point, we know how to respond. And this is the reason this show is here. It's to remind us of the fact that we do know how to do this, that we are our own emergency services. We are the ones that are going to bring ourselves to the next level. We are watching Mother Nature lashing out so angrily at this time. We are watching our governments really wobble. They're having such difficulty. We recognize that it does not matter what it is that we're trying to say with our voice. In so many climates, it's not being heard. And that really what we have to do is we have to learn to stand up. We have to learn to voice what it is. And that starts with each of us in terms of how we manage our moments each day.
Yes, it does. And it starts with getting up with intention, set the tone for the day. I live in Northern Ireland. And I remember I reached out to a friend of mine who's a professor today. And I said, "How are you? You're in my thoughts." And she said, "Oh, I'm not so well. Have you not heard the news?" And I said to her, "No, because I choose what I listen to." We have to wake up with intention. We have to choose how we're going to wake up and how we're going to start our day, because that impacts how we finish the day. So we have to literally take control of our mind. We have to be careful of what we feed our minds, because it comes out the other side and it impacts us. And then it impacts everybody else around us. And so when we become really conscious of those things, then we understand that yes, you're going to listen to the news, but you're going to choose how much of it you take in. Yes, you're going to talk about what's happening around you, but only from a perspective to educate and inform yourself. And then you're going to shut out. I think if we all start doing that and we start doing more things to feed and build ourselves up, journal, go for nature walks, those kinds of things, we are going to build up a resiliency to go through this. And we're going to come out thinking, "Oh my God, I didn't know that I had that within me." And that's what I want you to understand, is that you have it. You've got this. You have got this.
Absolutely. And how today do you want the audience to recognize this in themselves? What is your call to action today for them?
I love that you asked that. I want everybody to really sit down. I even want to get the children involved, because it's not just us adults who are going through this, it's everybody. I said to a friend of mine who's shielding at the moment, and I said to her, "Girl, you should be so happy. We're all shielding with you." And so she actually said, "Oh my God, I never saw it that way." I want you to pull everybody together in your household, and even call your friends on Zoom. And I want you to have a moment where you could even have a Skype and a Zoom and everybody's only together, nobody's talking. I want you to write a celebratory letter to yourself. And you may be thinking, what is she saying? I want you to sit down and think about all of the things that you have managed to navigate and go through in this period. That had Dr. Simon and I asked you 6 months ago, 8 months ago, would you do this? Could you survive this? You'd be like, hell to the no. But here we are. Here we are. And in that letter, I want you to celebrate all you've come through, all of the fears and the anxieties, but you're still standing. I really want you to write that, and I want you to continue building on that until we come out the other side. And who knows, you could turn that into a book. We could have all that even conversation, because I think, Dr. Simon, we don't celebrate ourselves enough and what we're able to accomplish.
And I'm so appreciative to you for bringing this call to action to the audience. So first, let me be clear that the call to action is that you're to go home. You're already at home. Write a letter to yourself that is a celebration of all of the gifts that have gotten you to this point. And it can be through the pandemic when it started, or any other time before that. And the thing that I love about this is that when Dr. Brown and I started to talk about what was going to be her challenge for all of you, both of us have written letters to ourselves at different times. We have used these as tools for the people that we teach, that we coach, that we care for, that we love. And we understand this to be an incredibly, incredibly powerful tool in ways in a very short period of time to be able to see what sort of progress happens. And what I used to do with my students when I had them write a letter to themselves is that I actually, because it was an in-person class, my doctoral students, I would have them put it into an envelope, seal it, self-address it. I would put a stamp on it. At the end of the semester, I would mail it to them.
Wow, that's powerful because you're
Yeah.
keeping them accountable as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And the first time that I had this, I was actually a student on a 45-day outward bound course, which meant that I lived in nature for 45 days and I needed to write a letter to myself. And I was not at all the same person when I came off that course, but I didn't see that letter for another 6 months.
Mm.
So, I think it's really interesting. Why don't you share with the audience what you told me about your letter and what you keep adding to it?
Wow, yeah. So about 2 years ago, it was a Christmas, and I was writing my they call it resolution, but I was writing my goal setting letter. And I
Yeah.
wrote a letter to myself, but I started off with it because in Mango Girl, my book, you'll find I write a celebratory letter to myself at the end of it because I had to celebrate all that I'd gone through, the things I listed at the beginning. So my friend held me accountable. It was a vision board party. I wrote a letter to myself and she posted it to me at the end of the other year. And I was like, oh my God. So I was ticking off the things I accomplished, but I recognized that I wanted to add to that letter. And so I keep it as a working document pretty much. And I continue to tick off and add because as we ebb and flow, things change around us.
Yeah.
Why not just keep that as a working document and just keep working on it? And that's what I do with mine.
So, do you have any advice that you would give people when they sit down to actually write the letter? Would you give them time frames? Would you tell them to free form it? What would you say?
I'd say just go from within your gut and just be honest. Don't lose focus of what the intention is. But
Mm.
literally sit down and allow yourself to cry because I remember when I saw mine, I cried. I literally, oh my God, I was like, oh my God. I teared up. Allow yourself to feel and be fully present in the moment when you're writing it. And for some of you, you might find that you can't do it with the family. You need to have that own space. Allow yourself to take yourself away from it all. Go into nature if you have to, if we're allowed to go outside, but find that space that you're comfortable and that you're content and you can be yourself and just allow yourself to feel. Because here's the thing, Dr. Mandy, is that it's going to help some people heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to help you heal because we've all been through a lot.
Yeah.
And rather than it bottled inside, escape, exhale, and
Mm-hmm.
put it on paper. And some people can even go further by getting a Chinese lantern and releasing it, or you can bury it in the back garden or whatever you choose to do. It doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
just want you to get it out and recognize because there's a beauty in putting things on paper that make us think, oh my God, I did that.
Yeah.
Or I've gone through that. And it actually is in front of you. You have to recognize and appreciate it. And you're going to realize that you're going to get more strength. You're going to allow yourself to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to actually realize that you ought to be celebrated. Because baby girl and baby boy and everybody, husband, wife, children, all of you watching this and listening to this, we all have been champions in the last couple months. So let's celebrate ourselves.
Yeah. And I think it's really, really important. Thank you for adding these points. It's so nice to hear it. And I feel at this moment, one of the greatest things about doing this show is just the fact that we have to continue to work together. We have to continue to pull together as a planet and understand that it's these small steps that we can take each and every day and in each moment that's going to allow us to build over time our resilience. But this is such a beautiful way that you're asking the audience to just already recognize that this is everything. If they are able to just show themselves this, they can share it with everyone else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it actually could be, and my brain just went in another place. It could be after you finish writing, because we're all seeking for activities to do. It could be a family activity where you go around the table and on Zoom. If you have to call the other party because we're all social distancing, what did you realize about yourself? You can go around the table and ask each other to share something from their letter. That is such a bonding moment right there.
And I feel that this is so important. One of the things that I wanted to say to our audience at home today, and I was going to save it until the end, but I think it's really appropriate to say it now, is how pleased we are that you're participating in keeping your journal that is unique, actually, the workbook that's unique to this show, and that each week lists the call to action of each of the guests that I've invited into the space, and how, so far we've done the 30 gifts that COVID give you. We've done the 3 gratitudes that you write each day. We've done the bead movement, which is where you count out the amount of days that you think that you're going to live, and you create a jar of beads, and then you put it into the empty jar each day with your intention behind it. We've done the AAA practice, and now we're looking at writing a letter to ourselves. And the whole point of being here in this space is for all of us to recognize that it doesn't take me or Dr. Brown to be having a conversation with you about these things. These are all practices that you may powerfully have already been working on at home and are just remembering to do at this point. And maybe it's your neighbor that feels isolated, and you can offer these tools to your neighbor, and you guys can compare your journals and do this type of thing. It's really powerful to understand that we're all incredibly vulnerable at this time, and that this is how we connect through our humanness.
Mm. Wow, I think that's just amazing, and I think it's also connecting with ourselves so deeply
Yeah,
on a level that sometimes we can't connect with anybody else, but sometimes we're disconnected from self as well because
yeah,
we go through these moments. But something like this just really brings you into the center
yeah,
and remind you to
yeah.
feel and be. That's what we need.
And however you are, and however you feel, and however you be is correct.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with how you are.
Not a single thing wrong with anyone. And this is so important. So
Yes.
this is so important. And for all of our audience at home, we would actually love to hear from you. We'd love to get your comments, your emails. It would be absolutely amazing. But before I give you that information, I do have some exciting news that Dr. Brown has an announcement about a podcast that she has that's going to be coming up, which I really encourage everyone to watch. You're such an inspiration. I've loved being connected with you. And I would just, if you would be so kind to just share this information, we'd love to hear
Oh, she's had me blushing. This is the first time sharing this publicly, but I've shared it with her. I'm actually launching a podcast that's called Pain to Purpose, and it's really focused on. I think it's such a fitting time as well when so much people are going through pain. Is to
it.
look at how we recycle that pain into something purposeful, and so that's going to be coming out really soon. I'm really excited. We should be airing and starting in November, and if you when you guys connect with me, you'll be able to get some more information on that. Thank you so much for allowing me. I'm so gracious right now. Like,
I'm so happy.
thank you for
Yeah.
that. And
Why
I
don't
can't wait to have you as a guest on it, by the way.
Fantastic. Thank you. Why don't you tell them what your website is so we can start with that at the very least?
Sure, I'm gonna talk about my baby right now, my pre-COVID pivot, and it's the Mango Girl.
Yeah.
It's www.themangogirl.com.
Okay.
So that's where you can connect with me. I think that's the website I want to talk about today.
Yeah. And they're amazing products for anyone at home that's wondering about it. Go and check them out. Fantastic face cream. Love it. Absolutely love it. Put it
Okay.
on this morning. It's
I've
amazing.
got it on my lips, on my hair, on my face, on my skin.
It's just really incredible. It's really incredible. So, well, this has been great fun. And I'm so grateful to you, Dr. Brown, for being here today. It's just a joy for me to be able to connect with you when we do connect. And I'd like to first thank Passionate World Talk Radio for providing a platform for their internet station, for this show, Finding Your Holy Grail. To find out more, please go to www.passionateworldtalkradio.com and Finding Your Holy Grail, which is www.findingyourholygrail.com. I would love to hear from you. You can write to me at findingyourholygrail@gmail.com. And please remember that we're so interested in hearing about your experiences with the workbooks. We'll look for your posts on social media. We're getting such immense support for this show, and we'd like you to share it far and wide with everyone. You can also write in and let us know about future ideas that you might like to hear. You can sign up on podcasts. There's so many: Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And until next week, we thank you so much for being here with us. And I wish you to keep safe and stay brave.